Okay, ready for dive and code? What's up, everybody? Welcome to our Redux lesson for Dive and Code. React and Redux are two very popular tools on the front-end development market right now. Today, we're going to talk about Redux. Yep, Redux by itself. React and Redux are very good matches when they work together, but only by understanding them individually, we can work them together even better. So, what does Redux do? Let's find out. In real life, we have so many things to do, like feeding the cat, picking up children, and cooking. And it becomes harder and harder to remember all of them in our head. What if we have a notebook that holds all the information so that we never forget? Whenever something comes up, we write it into the notebook, and that solves all our troubles. Same with a web page. A web page can do all sorts of things, like buying tickets or booking hotels. To manage all those functionalities, it uses Redux to keep track of important data. Sounds pretty cool, right? But hold on, is that all it is? There's something between initiating an action and actually writing something onto the notebook, or say Redux. Let's try to find that answer by recalling our own thinking process before we write into a note. Let's imagine a room with a washing machine. It's a Sunday afternoon and we're doing our laundry in a public laundry room. So that means we need to get back on time before the laundry finishes. There are 3 steps before we write something into our notebook. The first step is to put in the clothes and press the start button. The second step is to read how many time does it need for the public washing machine to finish the job. The third step is to add the current time and the washing machine wait time, and finally write down the finished reminder on that notebook. Now let's review the 3 steps that we just talked about. The 3 steps are: Step 1, starting the machine. Step 2, reading the time left on the washing machine. Step 3, do the math in our own head by adding washing machine time with current time. And finally, get the finish time to write onto the notebook. Great! Now we know what we should do to convert our real-life action into data. Let's see how Redux do this in the exact same way with slightly weirder names and terms. For the first step, where we perform the behavior of starting a machine, it is technically not within the Redux cycle. But most of the time, you need something to trigger the Redux to start running. For the second step, where we read the wait time from the screen of the washing machine, Redux call it dispatch. Dispatch in English means to send or to convey. Dispatch conveys information from real life into our reducer for calculation. By the way, that information that got dispatched is called an action. We'll talk about it later. For the third step, where we added the current time and the machine time in our head, Redux call it a reducer. So reducer handles the calculation to get the end time of the washing machine. Finally, the washing machine end time that we write into the notebook is called state by Redux. So state is basically important and dynamic data. In real life, we call that a note, and Redux calls it a state. Whenever we need to look at the recorded end time, we ask for the state, just like how we look at the notebook. Now that we have become familiar with the concept, I'm going to introduce some basic syntax to you. In Dive and Code, we help explaining concepts on a higher level to help people decide what they are going to dive into in the future. This part is to prepare people with relative coding background to dive and code immediately. So if you're not sure what we're talking about just yet, you get there soon as long as you dive into relative coding experiences first. By pressing the washing machine start button, it's the same as grabbing an HTML button element and let it trigger a Redux dispatch process. The dispatch process reads whatever is on the washing machine meter and send it through a JavaScript object. Redux calls that object an action. This code is sort of hard-coded because we literally put 1.5 hours in the action value key value pair. In order to solve that, we can pass it in through the dispatch function. We call the variable time and use the time in the action value. Let's look at the reducer. Reducer has two jobs. It initiates the state and it changes the state according to the actions it receives from dispatch. What is state again? It is dynamic and important data that Redux tries to manage. It's like a notebook in real life. In this code, we have two cases of starting the machine and stopping the machine. These will potentially change the state when relative actions are dispatched into the reducer. By saying do something with the state in this code, we're doing things like setting the state end time value to null or set it to a certain time. Finally, when the program asks for the state, like how we ask for data from a notebook, we call store.getState.laundry. Laundry is a key that represents one reducer, but in real programming, there can be as much reducers as we want. After writing all those reducers, like laundry, grocery, go to work, etc., we can wrap them all up using combined reducers, just like the first line of the code. Now that we have explained the concept of Redux using washing machine and briefly introduced the syntax, are you ready to dive and code?